Alice leaned over the glowing console, her eyes scanning the flickering signals that had appeared out of nowhere in deep space. The hum of the exploration ship filled the quiet room, broken only by the steady beeping of sensors. Tom stood beside her, arms crossed, jaw tight with concentration. He had never seen signals like these before, messages from species long extinct, echoing across the galaxy like whispers from the past. "Look at this," Alice said, pointing at a series of patterns that blinked in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. "They're coordinated. Someone or something sent these deliberately." Tom frowned. "Coordinated, yes, but from whom? All the sources are from systems that have been dead for centuries. Extinct species, gone. Why would they send signals now?" Alice shook her head. "I don't know, but they're all sending the same warning. Listen." She activated the audio channel, and a strange, multi-toned voice filled the room, translating itself through the ship's interface. "Earth is never truly asleep." Tom blinked. "Earth, what does that mean? We've been told it's just a myth to most of the galaxy. No one lives there anymore, not in any major settlement. It's just a legend." Alice's eyes sparkled. "Legends exist for a reason. Maybe this one is true. Maybe Earth is more than we think." They looked at each other, the weight of realization settling between them. Humanity had always been curious, always willing to push the boundaries. Every other species had long abandoned the search for the lost worlds, dismissing Earth as a myth. But humans had survived worlds that should have killed them. They had learned to endure, to adapt, to rise when others fell. "Then we follow it," Tom said finally, a spark of determination in his eyes. "If this is a message left by extinct civilizations, it's telling us something. Something important." Alice nodded. "We prepare immediately. We need supplies, charts, and a clear course. This is the kind of journey humans were made for, long, uncertain, and dangerous. But we can handle it." The ship hummed to life as the crew prepared for departure. Sensors swept the empty void, scanning for debris, rogue asteroids, and any other hazards that might slow them down. Every crew member knew the risks. No one knew what awaited them at the edge of uncharted space. And yet no one hesitated. The signals led them first to a dying star system, where planets had once thrived but were now reduced to barren rocks and frozen deserts. The ship navigated carefully through debris fields and unstable orbits, Alice and Tom guiding the vessel with meticulous precision. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing at a small metallic object half buried in the surface of a cracked planet. "It's artificial." Alice's fingers danced over the controls as they lowered a landing pod. They touched down on the rocky ground, boots crunching over fragments of civilizations long gone. Around them, the wind carried the scent of minerals and dust, but also something strange. A faint electrical hum, like the echoes of machines that had once worked tirelessly. Inside the pod, Alice and Tom examined the object. It was a small cube, smooth and polished, with intricate carvings along its surface. When they activated it, holographic lights sprang to life, projecting star maps, planetary data, and recordings of the species that had left it behind. "They left everything," Alice whispered. "Their history, their discoveries, and the same message." She tapped a symbol that glowed bright green. The audio played again. "Earth is never truly asleep." Tom ran his hands through his hair. "It's almost like a warning. Or maybe a guide. Every species we find has said the same thing. Why Earth?" Alice studied the map, tracing the connections between the signals. "Look here. Every signal seems to point closer to one region of the galaxy. All trails converge at a single point, Earth. No wonder it's called the Lost Planet. But these messages, they're calling us there. They're waiting for someone to listen." The crew felt a thrill of excitement and unease. They were the first humans in generations to explore beyond settled space with a purpose like this. Every other species had given up. Every other race had ignored the warning. But humans had a unique quality. They survived, they adapted, and they chose to act when others would hesitate. As the ship lifted off, leaving the barren world behind, Alice and Tom planned their next destination. They would follow the signals, tracing the breadcrumbs left by long-extinct civilizations. Each new system they entered brought new relics, more messages, and more questions. One day they arrived at a planet where the ruins of a once great city spread across the surface. Towering spires now lay in ruin, but their technology was astonishing. Alice activated the holographic interface embedded in the structures. Records poured in showing the species' life, their struggles, and their extinction. And always the final message: Earth is never truly asleep. Tom looked at the holograms, a sense of awe in his eyes. They all disappeared, but they made sure someone would find this. Someone who could survive. Us. Alice nodded. We're the species that didn't give up. That's why the messages chose humans. The galaxy has forgotten us, underestimated us, but we're the ones who can answer this call. 4 weeks, they traveled further, encountering strange phenomena. Planets where time seemed to bend, stars that flickered in unusual rhythms, and remnants of civilizations that had vanished in a blink. Each time Alice and Tom deciphered relics left behind, learning more about the beings who had gone extinct and the message they wanted to send. At every stop, the crew marveled at the ingenuity of civilizations long gone. Machines that repaired themselves, libraries that preserved knowledge for thousands of years, and warnings that stretched across light years. But all of it pointed to one thing: Earth, alive and awake, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. One night, as the ship drifted past a glowing nebula, Tom leaned back and stared at the stars. Do you ever wonder why it's always humans? Why Earth waits for us? Alice smiled faintly. Because humans survive when others fall. Because humans are curious when others forget. And because humans choose to act when the galaxy has given up hope. The ship hummed quietly as it sped onward, following the faint signals that pulsed like beacons in the void. Alice and Tom knew they were on the brink of something greater than any discovery they had ever imagined. Every message from extinct species was a puzzle piece, and Earth was the final piece. They were not just explorers, they were the ones chosen by history, the ones who could heed the warnings of the past and unlock the secrets of the planet that the galaxy had long forgotten. Alice turned to Tom, determination shining in her eyes. We're going to find it. We're going to see for ourselves why Earth never sleeps. Tom nodded, a smile tugging at his lips. And when we do, the galaxy will see that humans are not to be underestimated. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, but Alice and Tom had no fear. They were humans, curious, brave, and relentless. They followed the signals through empty space, through danger and mystery, and with every step, the legend grew. Earth awaited them, and the lost messages of extinct species had chosen well. No one else would have dared. Only humans could. Only humans would. Lucy stared at the holographic display, her fingers moving across the glowing interface as patterns shifted and symbols rotated. Each alien relic was unique. Some were metallic cubes etched with strange runes, others were glass-like spheres filled with floating light. Every one contained knowledge, and every one carried the same mysterious guidance: Earth. Ben crouched beside her, adjusting a sensor that hummed faintly. Some of these relics are incredibly old, he said. Thousands of years. These species are gone, and yet their messages survived. How did they make this technology last? Lucy shook her head in wonder. They wanted someone to find it. We're the ones who can decode it. That's why it's still here. Their ship drifted over the surface of a dead world, its sky a dull gray, the sun a weak ember barely lighting the jagged landscape. Crumbling buildings dotted the plains, evidence of a civilization that had thrived long ago. Dust swirled around them, whipped by thin winds, carrying the faint scent of decay and ozone from long-fallen machines. Let's start here, Lucy said, pointing to a pyramid-shaped structure in the distance. The readings are strongest inside that building. Ben nodded. Together, they stepped into the lander and touched down with a soft thump. The doors opened with a hiss, letting in the cold, dry air. Inside, the building was surprisingly intact. Walls were lined with devices that pulsed faintly, their lights dim but steady, as if waiting for someone to reactivate them. Lucy approached one of the devices, pressing her palm against a sensor. Symbols lit up in response, forming a map of the star system. Ben watched as the holographic lines connected to other systems, branching outward, all pointing in one direction: Earth. These messages, they're like breadcrumbs, Lucy whispered. Every species that died left a hint, a guide. They wanted someone to follow them. Ben's eyes widened. But why Earth? Why leave the final message there? Lucy smiled faintly. Maybe Earth is the answer to everything they wanted to preserve. Knowledge, life, memory, something they all hoped humans would understand. They spent hours exploring the ruins, carefully documenting each relic. Some were difficult to activate, their alien technology alien even to the most advanced human devices. But Lucy and Ben's determination never wavered. Every obstacle they faced required patience, logic, and creativity. They rewired circuits, used ancient energy sources, and even translated alien symbols without knowing the original language. Look at this one, Ben said, holding up a crystalline cube. Inside, tiny projections of landscapes and creatures flickered. Each scene was a glimpse into the lives of the species that had vanished. They're showing us what they lost, and why we need to keep going. Lucy touched the cube carefully, and a soft voice echoed in the empty chamber, filtered through the ship's translators. Earth waits. Earth remembers. Only those who endure may awaken the planet. Ben swallowed hard. This is incredible. They trusted us, humanity. They believed we could follow their guidance. Lucy nodded. We have to. We're the only ones left who could. Every other species gave up. We're not like them. We survive, we adapt, we keep moving forward. The sun dipped below the horizon outside, casting long shadows over the ruins. Dust fell from the crumbling ceiling, and a faint hum of ancient machinery echoed in the air. Lucy and Ben worked tirelessly, restoring devices and piecing together the information hidden in the relics. Each new discovery revealed a fragment of a larger story, a story that spanned countless worlds and countless civilizations. As night fell, the duo climbed to the roof of the pyramid. The stars above were bright, scattered like diamonds across the dark sky. Each star represented a system, a possibility, a history of life that had once been. Lucy gazed upward. Look at all of them, she said quietly. Every one of these civilizations left something behind. They trusted us to follow the path. They believed humans could understand it even after they were gone. Ben nodded, his voice soft. We're not just explorers anymore. We're the last link between what was lost and what can survive. Every message we decode, every signal we follow, it's a responsibility. Over the next several days they traveled to more abandoned colonies, each one more challenging than the last. Some planets were still dangerous. Radiation storms, crumbling structures and dormant defense systems threatened to end their journey. But Lucy and Ben's cleverness kept them alive. They learned to anticipate failures, to improvise when equipment broke, and to work together in ways that no alien species could have predicted. On one particular planet, a sphere-like relic levitated above a pedestal, rotating slowly. Its surface shimmered with a faint blue glow. When Lucy and Ben activated it, the sphere projected a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, showing countless systems and the paths each extinct species had traveled before their end. Lines converged at one single point. Earth, Lucy whispered, barely believing her eyes. It's always Earth. Ben studied the hologram carefully. Every path, every civilization, every message points here. It's like they all left us instructions. They wanted someone to reach it. And that someone is us. Lucy felt a shiver run down her spine. The weight of responsibility was immense. They were no longer just explorers. They were guardians of knowledge, carriers of a legacy left by civilizations that could no longer act for themselves. If they failed, everything those species had preserved would be lost. We can't fail, Lucy said. We're human. We survive when others fall. That's what makes us different. That's why they left the messages for us. Ben smiled faintly. Then let's keep going. One planet at a time. One message at a time. We follow the trail until we find the answer. Until we find Earth. As they lifted off from the last abandoned colony, the holographic relics still active on the ship's console, Lucy and Ben looked at each other with determination. The galaxy stretched endlessly ahead, full of danger, mystery, and wonder. Every star they passed, every signal they traced, was another step toward the lost planet. Each message they decoded reminded them of the courage and cleverness that defined humans. While other species had faltered or forgotten, humans kept moving forward, driven by curiosity, hope, and the instinct to survive. That instinct would guide them through the empty void, through threats seen and unseen, until they finally reached Earth, the place every lost species had pointed them toward. And as the ship glided silently through the darkness, Lucy and Ben knew one thing for certain. No message was wasted, no signal meaningless, and no human unprepared for what awaited them. Every extinct species had left a piece of their story, and humans were the ones brave enough and clever enough to follow it. The stars shimmered, the relics glowed, and the journey continued. Every discovery, every decoded signal, was another step toward Earth, the planet that was never truly asleep. Lucy smiled at Ben. We're ready for whatever comes next. We'll reach Earth. And when we do, the galaxy will see what humans are capable of. Ben nodded, eyes bright with determination. We're clever, we're brave, and we never give up. That's why we're here. That's why we survive. Clara leaned over the holographic map on the bridge, tracing the movement of the alien fleet that had appeared suddenly on the edge of their path. Red blips flickered across the screen, hostile ships, faster and larger than anything the humans had faced before. They're trying to block us, Ethan said, his voice calm but firm. They don't want us reaching Earth. They think if we fail, the galaxy will stay under their control. Clara shook her head. They don't know humans. We're not easy to stop. We adapt. We outthink. And we survive. The alien ships moved in formation, confident and ruthless, relying on size and firepower. But Clara and Ethan knew that brute strength was only part of warfare. Humans had survived worlds no other species could live on, and they had learned to turn danger into advantage. Split the fleet, Ethan commanded. Draw them into the asteroid belt. They won't expect it. Clara nodded, issuing orders. Smaller strike ships veered left and right, weaving through the massive, jagged asteroids. The aliens, overconfident, followed without caution. The humans used the terrain, hiding their movements and launching quick, precise attacks. Explosions lit the dark void as alien vessels collided with debris or had their engines damaged. Clara's team moved like shadows, striking where the enemy was weakest, disappearing before a counterattack could land. Look at their formation, Clara said. They think they're controlling us, but we control them. Every step they take is part of our plan. Ethan piloted his ship alongside hers, coordinating maneuvers with calm precision. Keep their attention on the decoys. Our main fleet will slip through unnoticed. Meanwhile, human strike teams on smaller ships darted in unexpected patterns, disabling alien sensors and communication arrays. The enemy began to panic, their confidence shaken. They had never faced opponents who seemed to anticipate every move, who used intelligence instead of only weapons. Humans are clever, one alien commander hissed through the comm channel, though the humans had no way of hearing. We've underestimated them. They are unpredictable and dangerous. Clara smiled faintly as she issued another order. Prepare the flanking maneuver. They'll expect another frontal assault. Let's surprise them. Ethan activated the secondary fleet, moving silently through a narrow gap between two moons. Alien ships fired blindly, unable to track the small human vessels. Then, suddenly, humans struck from all sides, targeting engine cores and weapon systems with pinpoint accuracy. The larger alien ships lurched, shields faltering as chaos spread through their ranks. Small explosions rocked the enemy fleet, forcing them to scatter. Human pilots moved like one organism, each ship responding instantly to the other. On the bridge of the human command ship, Clara and Ethan watched the battle unfold with quiet satisfaction. They thought numbers would win, Clara said. But numbers aren't everything. Strategy, quick thinking, and courage matter more. Ethan nodded. We've survived worse. We've seen planets collapse under forces they thought unstoppable. This is just another challenge. And we'll overcome it like we always do. The aliens tried to regroup, launching a desperate counterattack on the humans' main fleet. But Clara had anticipated it. Smaller ships emerged from hidden trajectories, striking supply lines and disabling weapons. Alien formations broke apart completely, confusion spreading like wildfire. This is it, Clara said. They can't keep up. We're in control now. Human forces pressed forward, systematically disabling alien ships that tried to flee. Some surrendered, recognizing that resistance was pointless. Others attempted to escape, only to be intercepted by human patrols using clever traps and decoys. Every move the humans made was precise, calculated, and decisive. Even when an alien ship attempted a kamikaze strike on one of the human vessels, Ethan's quick thinking saved the day. He led the ship into a narrow asteroid channel, forcing the enemy vessel to collide with the rocky surface. The explosion rocked the area, but no humans were harmed. See, Clara said with a small grin. Clever thinking, courage, and precision. That's how humans survive. That's why we're unstoppable. The alien commander who had initiated the attack realized the mistake too late. His fleet was shattered, his soldiers demoralized, and his ships either destroyed or captured. In the aftermath, human crews checked systems, tended minor injuries, and documented the enemy's tactics. Every crew member understood the significance. The galaxy had witnessed humans facing a superior force, and humans had won not through sheer strength, but through cleverness, courage, and unity. Clara and Ethan stood side by side on the command bridge, looking out at the field of floating wreckage. They'll think twice before challenging humans again, Clara said quietly. Ethan nodded. And that's the point. We don't just survive. We prove ourselves. Every battle, every challenge, the galaxy is learning what humans are capable of. The human fleet continued on its path toward Earth. The hostile aliens were no longer a threat, but their presence reminded everyone on board why this mission mattered. Each obstacle tested humans' intelligence, adaptability, and courage, and each time humans rose above it. In the quiet moments after the battle, Clara and Ethan reviewed the alien records they had captured. Many contained maps, histories, and warnings, all pointing toward the lost planet. Each record emphasized one idea repeatedly: Earth. Every extinct species had left behind knowledge that humans could now use to continue the journey. Lucy, Alice, and Tom joined them in the command room. Together, they studied the alien artifacts, cross-referencing them with the messages they had already decoded. Each new piece of information made the trail clearer, but it also reinforced the stakes. Earth was waiting, and some force in the galaxy wanted humans stopped before they arrived. "They underestimated us," Ethan said, his tone steady. "They didn't know humans survive, adapt, and fight in ways no one expects." Clara nodded. "And they never will. That's why we keep going. That's why humans will always reach Earth if they are meant to." Outside the ship, stars stretched endlessly. Wreckage from the battle floated silently, a reminder of danger and the price of persistence. Yet the humans were unharmed, resilient, and determined. Every challenge they faced only strengthened their resolve. Sophie stood at the main window of the command ship as the blue and green sphere came into view. Earth filled the screen, larger than any image she had seen before. Clouds swirled slowly, oceans shone under distant sunlight, and continents rested like sleeping giants. For a long moment, no one spoke. The crew simply stared. They had followed signals across dead worlds and broken stars, and now they had reached the place every message had pointed to. Jack broke the silence. "So it's real," he said quietly. "Not a myth. Not a story. Earth is here, and it looks alive." Sophie nodded, but her eyes stayed sharp. Alive doesn't always mean safe. Stay alert. If the warnings were true, then Earth has been waiting for a very long time. As the fleet moved closer, instruments across the ship began to react. Lights flickered. Consoles beeped with rising urgency. Ancient signals surged from the planet's surface, washing over the human ships like a silent wave. Jack moved to his station. "We're picking up automated systems. Defense grids. They're old, but they're waking up." Sophie's jaw tightened. "Earth recognizes us as visitors. Not enemies, yet. We need to move carefully." From deep within the planet, hidden machines began to stir. Satellites long thought dead shifted their orbits. Buried structures powered on beneath forests, deserts, and oceans. Massive systems stretched and tested themselves, like a creature waking from deep sleep. The crew watched as glowing lines appeared across the planet's surface, tracing paths of energy and defense. Earth was not silent. It was alert. "Those systems weren't built to welcome anyone," Jack said. "They were built to protect." "And they did their job," Sophie replied. "They kept Earth safe when the rest of the galaxy forgot it." A sudden alert rang out. Unknown ships appeared at the edge of the system, scavengers, drawn by the same signals that had guided humanity. They moved fast, weapons armed, sensing opportunity. "They followed us," Jack said. "They want Earth." Sophie didn't hesitate. "Then they'll learn why Earth was left to humans." Human ships moved into position, forming a defensive arc around the planet. Unlike earlier battles, this was not about pursuit or attack. This was about protection. Sophie issued calm, clear orders, placing ships where they could intercept without waking Earth's full defenses. The hostile ships advanced, firing without warning. Human shields flared as energy slammed into them. Sophie stayed focused. "Do not return fire blindly," she said. "Use the planet's systems. Let Earth help us." Jack adjusted the signal transmitters, syncing human systems with Earth's ancient network. It was risky. No one knew how the planet would respond. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Earth answered. Beams of controlled energy rose from the surface, precise and measured. They disabled enemy weapons without destroying ships. Gravity fields shifted, pushing hostile vessels off balance. Earth was not raging, it was choosing. The enemy fleet panicked. "They don't understand," Jack said. "Earth isn't attacking. It's judging." Sophie allowed herself a small smile. "Just like us." Human ships moved in, using smart angles and careful timing. They cut off escape routes, disabled engines, and forced surrender without unnecessary destruction. The battle ended quickly, not with chaos but with control. Silence returned to space. Below them, Earth systems slowly powered down, returning to watchful rest. The planet had tested humanity, and found them worthy. Sophie exhaled, not realizing how tense she had been. "Earth is awake," she said softly. "And it chose us." Jack leaned back, eyes fixed on the planet. "All those species, they weren't warning us away. They were waiting for someone who could protect this place without destroying it. Messages began to unlock across Earth's network. Archives opened. Knowledge flowed. History, science, art, and records of long wars that had scarred the galaxy. Earth had seen it all. It had survived because it learned when to fight and when to endure. The crew listened in silence as translated messages played. Not commands. Not threats. Memories. Sophie felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. "We're not conquerors," she said. "We're caretakers." Jack nodded. "And the galaxy will notice." Word spread fast. Ships watching from afar withdrew. Species that once doubted humans now spoke their name with care. Earth was no longer forgotten, and humanity was no longer underestimated. As the fleet held position, Sophie looked once more at the planet below. Earth was not asleep. It had been waiting. And humanity had answered. Lily walked through the wide hall of the Galactic Council with steady steps. Her hands were relaxed at her sides, her face calm. Beside her, Ryan moved with the same quiet confidence. They wore simple uniforms unmarked by medals or symbols of rank. They did not need them. Their presence alone drew attention. The council chamber was filled with representatives from many species. Tall ones, small ones, beings of light, beings of metal, beings of flesh and scales. The air hummed with low voices, but as Lily and Ryan reached the center of the hall, the sound slowly faded. Eyes followed them. Some watched with fear, others with curiosity, and many with deep respect. Whispers spread from seat to seat. "They are the ones from Earth." They reached the sleeping planet. They stood against the ancient defenses, and were accepted. Lily felt the weight of those whispers, but she did not react. She had learned that true strength did not need to be loud. Ryan glanced at her briefly and gave a small nod. They had been through worse than a room full of staring aliens. The council leader, a tall figure with calm glowing eyes, rose from their seat. "Humans," the leader said slowly, "you were sent to follow echoes of lost species. You were expected to fail as others did. Yet you returned. And Earth is no longer silent." Lily spoke clearly. Earth was never silent. It was waiting. A low murmur spread across the chamber. Ryan stepped forward. Every lost species left a message. Not a warning to stay away, but a hope. They believed someone would come who could protect without destroying. That someone was humanity. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward, listening closely. "You are Deathworlders," another representative said. "Your worlds are harsh. Your history is full of conflict. Why should we believe you will not turn Earth into a weapon?" Lily met their gaze without anger. "Because we already chose not to." Silence followed. She continued, her voice steady and simple. "Earth woke up when we arrived. Its defenses could have wiped out fleets. Instead, it tested us. We used strategy, patience, and restraint. Earth responded to that. Not to force." Ryan added, "Power is easy. Control is harder. Humans learned that lesson the hard way, long before we reached the stars." The council leader studied them for a long moment. "You protected Earth. You turned away those who came to take it. You did not claim it as an empire. You stood guard and then returned here. Why?" Lily answered without pause. "Because legends are not meant to be owned. They are meant to be protected." The whispers grew louder now, filled with awe rather than doubt. Stories had already spread faster than the human ships. Tales of how ancient planetary systems woke and obeyed human signals. Of how hostile fleets were stopped without being destroyed. Of how a Deathworld species chose restraint when they held absolute power. An older council member spoke softly. "For ages, we believed Deathworlders were dangerous because of where they came from. We were wrong. They are dangerous because of what they endure." Ryan allowed himself a small smile. "And because we don't quit." The council formally acknowledged humanity's role as Earth's guardians. Not rulers. Not owners. Guardians. The title carried weight across the galaxy. Meant trust. As the session ended, Lily and Ryan walked through the hall once more. This time, no one whispered insults or doubts. Representatives bowed their heads. Some stepped aside with visible respect. Others simply watched in silence, knowing they were witnessing history. Outside the chamber, Ryan let out a slow breath. That went better than expected. Lily smiled faintly. Humans tend to surprise people. As they returned to their ship, messages poured in from across known space. Requests for alliances. Offers of cooperation. Questions about Earth. But none carried threats. The galaxy had learned something important. Deathworlders were not reckless monsters. They were survivors. Thinkers. Protectors when they chose to be. Far away, Earth continued its quiet watch. Its systems rested, alert but calm. The planet had seen many species rise and fall. Now, it had chosen humans not because they were the strongest, but because they understood balance. Lily stood at the ship's window as stars stretched ahead. Legends always start small, she said. Ryan nodded. And they last because someone remembers. From that day on, no species underestimated Deathworlders again. Not because of fear alone but because of respect. The galaxy slept a little easier knowing Earth was awake, and humanity was standing watch.